I suppose it's one of the advantages of being retired and not having a boss anymore, because I don't have an agenda during the day. The garden is my agenda. I've not paid much attention to this, but this is going to ripen in the next few weeks. So I've got to... Once a plant started to grow and they started to see the production coming up, etc., and the house then just softened, you know, so that they could see the overall. The comment was made that we like the house, but we still think you should have built it somewhere else.
In our previous episode, we covered an extraordinary terrace house called the Concrete House. And due to the enchanting response of our viewers, today, let us introduce a captivating, innovative renovation of a terrace house in an upscale neighborhood in Bangsar. The neighbors called it a concrete bunker, and they felt it was very intrusive. The facade is deceptive in other ways. It appears from the road to portend a dark and gloomy interior, but in reality, how does the interior look? Today's episode on Design Seed, let us bring you through the planter box house.
Basically, our ground floor is completely open plan, see-through, air ventilation. And we had a choice of having double height at the front or at the back, and we quickly decided that the back was better. So our first floor, we just have a mezzanine platform here, which is sitting area. So we've got another sitting area there, rest space. And we actually moved the wall back a bit to make the bedroom smaller. So we've got that intermediate open second living room on there. And then just the bedroom, which is big enough. Up again, the next flight of stairs to the third floor. So that's we've added one floor onto the original two-story house. And then the front, again, with a good view onto the balcony. Then the spiral staircase is access for growing on the roof. It's not an area we socialise in or whatever, it's just function access to the air conditioners and to look after the plants on the top.
We concentrated on fruit trees, and it's thinking about fruits that we like to eat.
40 plus. We don't know how many there are now, but there's a lot more than that. Okay.
Okay.
There you are, another.
Kedong-dong, star fruit, custard apple, papaya, banana, lots of limes, pomelos, guava, chiku. They are easy to harvest. Okay, wow.
Change hands.
It is amazing how cool this house is, and everyone who's ever come into this house immediately feels it. It can be 34 degrees outside because KL has got so hot, and this house is always cool. So it's the high ceilings, it's the ventilation, bubble deck. We installed aircon in every single room at great expense. And we have never used it in any of the living rooms. This month, our electricity bill was 78 ringgit, and we had 25% discount, so it's 58 ringgit for a three-story house.
Her mum came in quite early on, because there seems to be a bit of a generational thing on this house. It's a Bovril house. And she said, how can you build a house with one bedroom? And we said, we've got two bedrooms. And she says, that's not a bedroom. How can you build a house? You'll never be able to sell it. And I looked at her and I said, we built a home. We didn't build an investment or passing on. And I think that's partly, we've been lucky to be in a situation where we can do something from scratch.
The whole idea of the planter box house actually started from this very old jasmine tree. This is where the first thing that before we do anything that the house owner, Jade, where she grew up here for the last 40 years actually.
In Bangsar?
Yes, she grew up here. So it is very significant. I would say not only to the house, I mean to the streetscape, we call it the streetscape.
Okay.
So it served as the first planter, and then this planter spread all the way up to the top of the house and forming a whole new streetscape.
Well, one is a very crucial requirement from the owner is this house has to be as sustainable as possible so that they don't rely too much on the energy consumption. So one of the key factors is definitely to have very good cross ventilations in this house. So one of the key strategy is to have one super large volume in the house. So we draw it at the back, which becomes the dining space. So the dining space is a 6-meter tall ceiling height space with a 6-meter full glass windows that you will look to the neighbors. But however, in order to cover the neighbor views, at the end we design a super tall creeper become another internal scene for the house. While you have this super tall ceiling space, the air will keep flowing towards up, where we have beside, which is the chimney above the staircase to draw up the air.
So all 3 bathrooms are semi-outdoor.
Okay.
Yes, and not only that, when you look from the outside, you can see that the planter box going up and down, left and right, in and out a bit, right? Cascading. They are not simply or arbitrarily built, designed. They actually according to the function, what is behind the planter box. So sometimes we want the planter box a bit higher for this purpose, to get privacy. Sometimes I want a view, so we purposely lower down. Yes. Sometimes we want it even lower to form a seat.
Okay. That's interesting.
And not only that, it also depends on the height of the planter, how much soil and water
It's needed.
you can contain.
Okay.
So the owner can decide how much they want to put to grow what kind of plants. As you can see, while you go to a higher floor, the planter box gets shorter and shorter. And it's part of the reason is because that you get up, you see a much better view.
Yes.
So that we actually adjust the planter to a bench level, so they turn into a bench, and it also doesn't obstruct the view. And then you do a much higher wall for you to lean against, and together with a timber bench.
And still a sense of privacy from that side.
Yes. And then of course we are hoping that you grow a huge tree, give you a nice sunshade to the whole terrace. So everything, I won't say we 100% planned, but I would say we sort of have an intention of how things we want.
And coincidentally, it became so livable. So.
Yes, but of course the second half is all because of the owner.
Yes.
How they make it happen.
Yeah.
In order to create a large seamless space and also maximize all the window views and the sunlight, so the bubble deck basically is a beamless system. Without the beams, we can create a higher ceiling, and we also allowed lighter partitions that allow the owner in the future to modify, to change easily. Well, there's other good benefits of using bubble deck is that the bubble deck it's 30% lighter than ordinary concrete. Because of the bubble deck come in like a semi-precast panels, so the entire process or the construction period will be shortened.
But we wanted to try and reuse as much of the house as we could, in any way we could. So we reclaimed timbers, staircases, various wooden items, the roofing tiles, some of which has gone to other projects. But some of the ones here, such as the timber at the end here, was kept a little bit back. Door frames, we've built some things on the roof using that.
Got a shelf.
Yeah, we've raised a shelving system upstairs.
We had a friend around, and she's a Kalabit from Sarawak. And she told us what it was. She says, we've got loads of these in Sarawak. They are steps to longhouses. So this is a step for Seamus to go up for working on the banana planters.
But that's healthy fifth. We might get another 6. That'll be a record.
Judging the architecture from the outside does not do justice for this property. The rear end has a beautiful double volume void with full height glass swing doors that spans gracefully from the floor to the ceiling. This gives an amazing opening for an ample natural lighting to shower into the interior. In our previous episodes, we have always emphasized on how we play with walls and skylights to give interior spaces some sense of privacy. Today we have this fruitful opportunity to experience a fully grown green wall that not only hides the view of the rear parallel row of terrace houses, this green wall also provides a shade from the setting afternoon sun. This house may not suit the majority, but I have to admit, the philosophy and story of the connection between the owners and the architecture is undoubtedly inspiring. This project has changed a few of my perception on the approach of construction. Reusing and recycling isn't about cost saving, it is merely about preserving the drought of timber. As Seamus mentioned earlier, wood is not vernacular in the Klang Valley. Not one more rainforest tree should be cut down. The Planter Box House is a perfect representation of Seamus and Jade's personality and lifestyle. This is what makes this design an amazing success. In Design Seed, it is our vision to share extraordinary designs bringing undiscovered amazing architecture around Malaysia to be proudly presented to the design scene. However, the Planter Box House isn't an undiscovered gem. It is a renowned property that has been featured in multiple platforms, including this book written by our dear friend Professor Robert Powell.
Most of them were landed property. Only 2 houses in the book were actually terrace houses. But the one that stood out from all the others when choosing a cover for the book was the Planter Box House. Why? Because it was something really special. Here was an experimental house, a house which brought the talents of a very talented architect together with an incredibly enthusiastic owner partnership, Jade, Cho and Seamus Highland. That when neighbours first saw this house, and it was just a rather crude concrete construction, there was a lot of criticism that they were building a concrete bunker, something that was intrusive in the neighbourhood. I think what has happened is that it has become a bit of a landmark in the neighbourhood. People actually enjoy it, they love it, and it seems to me that people have begun to emulate it a little. That you see planting happening in the neighbourhood. I think partly driven by this and partly driven by the sense of community. There's a greener community.
I learned so much about plants.
Yeah, you do.
The previous copy of Tropical Malaysian House Volume 1 book has sold over 2,000 copies. And here, we will be selling another wave of limited copies exclusively for viewers of Design Seed. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by the name of Design Seed Studio to make your orders today. This is a collaboration between Design Seed and Atelier International, and we hope to boost an awareness to the design scene. My name is Alex Lee and I am from Design Seed. Don't forget to subscribe and click on that notification button. Stay tuned to our upcoming episodes and thank you for watching.